camera, some hot mic, they just catch one of these.
Man,
The wrong people get a hold of this. Space attorney gonna just start releasing all these little clips. These are the people that y'all listening to. This is what they're talking about.
Right. And it's live. Great.
Good to see us live.
That's how it's supposed to be. No? Yeah, we on.
Oh my goodness.
Yep,
It's on, Justin.
We share the line something. We know when we live.
We live right there.
Oh, God.
Is we mic'd up too?
Yeah.
we
Oh,
are.
yeah.
That's everything, bro.
Oh,
Yeah, we are.
Heard us.
Since y'all did the old, what they go, who they did like that? Jesse Jackson.
It's always a hot mic.
Remember I hit Jesse with that hot mic?
Always a hot mic.
Everybody get it with the hot mic.
Man, they got some, man, people. We still alive.
So you can get it right.
Dang, I need to share it. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know what I'm going to say on here.
See the mask maker, so I ain't got to smile on pictures.
That's right.
That's a good point.
Yo, welcome to the Great Conversation Podcast, where we indulge in healthy dialogue about topics that are important in today's society and culture. We are in for a treat. Here on the Great Conversation Podcast, we pride ourselves on being able to find common ground with whomever we're speaking to. And now, this doesn't result in all parties always agreeing, but like we say here on the Great Conversation Podcast, you don't always have to agree to have a great conversation. Let me introduce our panel. I got activist, comedian, consultant for MorganRiich clothing line. I got Tommie Lee. Thank you for joining the conversation. Anthony Ford could not be with us this evening. We wish his family great health. We got community activist Leisle Rolfe with us. Thanks for joining the conversation. Right here we have the CEO and president of 815 Alive, Brandon Gordon. Thank you for joining the conversation, bro. Far back, we have former legislator and founder of the Wallace Institute of Learning and Empowerment, Litesa Wallace. Thank you for joining the conversation. And we have non-binary freedom fighter, abolitionist, and vocalist and spiritual healer, Skye Gia Garcia. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Abolitionist.
Abolitionist, thank you. Let me get that right. Abolitionist. I had two words I was going to struggle with, and I went after them back to back. Right. And we have film producer Aija Penix with us as well. Thank you for joining the conversation. All right. Y'all hot?
No.
It's about to get there. Let me step over here. All right. We've just had the presidential debate. We've heard different things being said at the presidential debate. We heard what President Trump had to say. We have a former Vice President Joe Biden had this. Well, we didn't hear anything that anybody really had to say. Right?
I was gonna say.
Like let's go there. Let's go there. So just to get things kind of warmed up, guys, let's just talk about some current events and things that are happening nationwide and locally, just for a moment. Okay. So what are some of you guys' thoughts on the presidential debate last night? Anyone?
I think that the presidential debate, I think it was as corrupt as the local Rockford city government as well. So I think that it was not a surprise. It was a direct reflection of what's wrong, what's going on. And it was not enjoyable to watch. I didn't really pay much attention to it because I knew that I couldn't avoid it, and people were going to be talking about it afterwards. So.
Yeah, something that's going on. Anybody else want to piggyback off that?
Yeah, I feel, similarly. As far as the whole, event itself, it feels like at this point is you know, sort of like a mock debate. It feels like a lot of the stuff that's going on is sort of like a sketch or like some kind of satire, you know, which, you know, is the main thing that, you know, I get anytime Trump speaks. You sort of get like this, feel like you watching somebody do an SNL skit. So.
Anybody else want to comment?
Well, it was very disappointing that there wasn't a substantive conversation about real issues. You know, this is supposed to be picking the next leader of the free world, as we, you know, yes, air quotes, as we say.
As we say.
And these two individuals either weren't able to articulate clear platforms, stances, clear positions on anything, or they were too busy interrupting the other person, i.e. Trump interrupting Biden, for anybody to actually understand what the issues are and what their administrations plan to do.
Exactly. I agree 110%. There was a lot of tripping over, talking, finger pointing, but nobody really came with any type of policy or, hey, this is what I have for the American people. Let's switch gears just a tad and let's come here locally. Locally, Paul Carpenter just lost his job for over $25. Or what is it really over?
I mean, I really feel like the law enforcement and the powers that be that are connected to law enforcement in this city are trying to make a statement. And the statement is that they will not tolerate people using their constitutional rights to speak against them. And anyone that supports them in any way, it cannot stand. I think it's a complete miscarriage of a position of power. I think it's petty, and I think that it is intolerable. What Paul Carpenter does in his private time is not anybody's business. So yeah, I had to catch myself.
Feel free.
Yeah, like it's very disappointing, and I'm not surprised because I mean, based upon the events of the last 4 months, you know,
4 months
this
exactly.
yeah, 4 months exactly. So the last 4 months, you know, that position being the state's attorney has been acting a whole ass by creating and fabricating charges that out of thin air that just should not be the case. So I'm not surprised that they would go to these lengths and this extent to repress the movement. But this is also repression. This is what repression looks like when people in positions of power or people that are part of these agencies do stand up and do stand for something.
Yeah, when I read the article, I was so shocked. Not shocked in the point like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. Like the audacity, you know, like over $25. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you said, very petty. You know what I'm saying? Very petty. Not even towards anyone's bond for the replacement of equipment. You know, so this is something out of his private funds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we go with because Illinois is a fire first state, so they don't really have to give a reason. They just get rid of them. Anybody else like to comment?
Well, I was going to say the intentional misconstrue of what the donation was for and about is extremely problematic. And I don't know if anyone who's watching this would care to remember, but I'm going to just say I'm extremely disappointed because I was extremely vocal about this particular state's attorney receiving the appointment that they received. Mm-hmm. And I was at odds with my then superior or boss, if you will, because he was championing someone else. And the only kind of out or backing that I had was the fact that I was still actually the state representative when I was making such statements. Had I not still been the state representative backing that particular person, I may have lost my own job trying to help someone get a job who has now gravely disappointed me.
Mm-hmm. It hurts. Oh, go ahead.
With that being said, Paul Carpenter is still up for election.
Yes.
And just because Paul Carpenter has lost his job for donating to the fund for repairing a camera does not mean that we cannot vote for Paul Carpenter. And so I just like to encourage everyone to still do so. And do not think that because the state's attorney's office is being petty that he cannot assume that position. Yeah, so that's what I'd like to say about that.
I think it's important too about the state, like you said, Aija, was that what's happening to Paul Carpenter is something that has happened continuously to countless Black and brown people.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
It's just not surprising.
Yeah.
It's not at all. I think that they're actually trying to set an example when they do things like this of what they're willing to tolerate on how far someone can humanize a protester or anyone who is involved of an anti-racist movement and an anti-police movement.
Bullies. Bullies with power. Let's shift the conversation. With the upcoming elections coming up, do we believe that America should simply perform the duties of the Electoral College, or should we revolt against the Electoral College altogether?
The Electoral College should be abolished.
Bam.
The Electoral College exists to give power to the minority of population, and that's just not how voting should work. A voting system should be by majority rule, and if the majority just happens to outweigh the minority, oh well.
I mean,
This was the this was the first time, I mean, in my life where I actually realized that America wasn't a true democracy when it came to the 2016 election. I don't know, if you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember a time where the Electoral College, as you call it, really put someone in office when the popular vote said something totally different.
It's happened 5 times
Yeah.
Wow.
in U.S. history.
Yeah.
Wow.
Al Gore being the most
Yep.
recent before
Okay.
Hillary Clinton
Okay.
winning the popular vote and not becoming president.
wow. These things continue to happen.
Wow.
And do we just sit back and continue to watch it happen? What are some things that we can do to make these changes? Like, what can be done? What can be done to make real not just progressive, real change we can see, change we can touch, change that will affect generations to come in a positive note? How can we do that?
I think the answer is in your topic. You either reform it or you revolt. And in almost every single facet that we're dealing with that is problematic in this country, some sort of revolt is necessary. This country was built on revolt. I'm sorry, this is killing me. This country was built on revolt. And it's not unfamiliar with those tactics. The reason why revolt has not been tolerated is because, in my opinion, because these people know what happens when people en masse actually do agree to overthrow a system, to overthrow an ideology, or to overthrow pieces and parts of that. They win, and things change, just like they changed at the inception of the United States government with the American Revolution. That was a revolt, and they won. They don't want that. But I feel like that's the answer to that. Like, we really have to challenge every single aspect that affects us negatively. And personally, like, I cannot point to anything that positively affects us right now. So I would say all of it can go. But yeah, like and revolt can happen in many different ways. There are non-violent ways to revolt and violent ways to revolt, both of which I can support at different times. But revolting looks like going to your city council meetings and speaking out against what they're saying when they're speaking incorrectly, like our friends here typically do. Going to a lot of these different meetings and literally just saying, hey, no, that is not true. That is revolting against a lie. The protests that have been happening are a form of revolt against the status quo. Putting people in office that politically align with our ideology is a revolt against, the opposing ideology. There are many different ways to revolt, but revolt is the only answer.
You say that nothing positive, and they can all pretty much go to hell.
Yeah.
You're saying that, and people will push back. And what the most recent things is, what are you going to do if something happens? Who are you going to call?
Who can I call now?
There you go.
I have been in situations where my home was being threatened and I've called police, they don't show up. I've been in situations where I've been assaulted and police don't show up. And when they do show up, all they do is take a report and go on about their business. As long as I'm not dead, they do not give a fuck.
The investigation is only worthy if blood has been spilled.
Yeah. And it's only just to
They don't even care.
clean it up. They don't care if the blood is spilled. It's just a formality.
Who it was that died.
Yeah.
I can
Let's be
can
real.
attest to there was a situation last year at Kennedy Middle School where we had some seniors come over to the school and jump on some middle school kids from Auburn to Kennedy. The principal called. Right. Think about that. Long story short, our principal called the police just to go just saying who can you call anyways. What happens anyways? It took the police an hour and a half to get to the school. So if you look from where District 1 is at the Kennedy Middle School, that's a 3-minute drive.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at, and it infuriated us because here we did have a young girl with blood. Literally, like you said, you know what I'm saying, doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter when blood is drawn. So the policing issue is a real issue. I mean, it's just horrible because now you got parents that come to the school that sat around for an hour and a half and the police, they just left. Like, what's the point? My baby just literally just got jumped and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And we act as though there aren't models for other forms of justice. Like there aren't restorative justice things that can occur. We act as though there are not models for communities to be empowered enough to say we finna make sure that we detain these young men or women who came onto this school's property and did X, Y, and Z. And we're gonna make sure that their parents are aware. We have to feel empowered enough because frankly, what we have right now is not working. It does not work. It has not worked, except for in the way that it was originally designed, which was to keep us, and by us, people of African descent, in our place.
Yeah.
I think another form of revolt is to understand our intersectionalities of struggle, because as somebody who has been in Rockford locally, I've noticed that there is not everyone on the same page, even when I'm talking about the mayor and the police or the people who are trying to remove those people from power. Either one of these people that I'm listing, for example, could be more aligned. I think that it would be beneficial for me to understand what somebody else goes through who is experiencing oppression, who is experiencing any form of being silenced. And on the note of the police, it seems like there's this idea, because I was attending one of the roundtable alderman discussions, and Mike Delkey is his name. He's a lieutenant officer for the Rockford Police Department, and he was expressing about how he's doing the youth in Rockford justice by playing sports with them. And it's incredibly insulting, first of all, because if they redistributed the funds of the police and instead gave millions of dollars to children's education, black youth, brown youth, that would actually avoid them from, in some ways, possibly getting arrested. But playing basketball with an officer isn't going to stop a youth from running into them in the future.
Fighting. And like the things that are happening at the middle school, like whatever basketball game you played did not save those kids at Kennedy Middle School from being attacked. It did not build any trust when you still did not show up.
Yeah.
So it's highly insulting, and it's a slap in the face to say to highly intelligent people that these things that we're doing fix this problem. They obviously do not. Crime is still high.
No relationship between the two.
None. They do not
Causal
relate.
or correlational. Not one bit of relationship between the two.
Well, I'll say this about the police assisting during the picnics, balloons, and hot dog giveaways, hamburgers. I had shared with someone about the police do that for like 4 or 5 hours, say Andrews Park or somewhere. And then when those police, these are the older police officers, some of the youth police officers that help. Once they shut that down, then that next shift come in. That next shift terrorizes the neighborhood. So right there, they just tore down what the other officers tried to build up.
Well, the proverbial good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, that's a problem too, because, you know, like I was always told, it started at the top. You know, and then with the programs, the reason I say defund the police because we have organizations out here that can use that money.
Yeah.
And believe me, they can make a big change if they had the right finances.
Oh, okay,
And-
so let's jump on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna elaborate on that too. But the thing too is when the police have these programs, all they're doing is they're being familiar with our kids, our youth. So when as our kids growing up and
They
they
know
running
who they
into
are.
them, they could be calling them by name. You know what I'm saying? That just
Intimidation tactics.
to me, that's just a plantation for fun. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Like you just setting up a plantation that kids can enjoy, do activities for when they grow up, and then you can just ride down on them and just say who they is and like call them by name and this and that. I don't.
Yeah.
Because what is the
Pick
problem
them
with
up
the
when they
police
want,
handing the
yeah.
money over? What is the problem? Because so many people got their own perspective of defunding.
Nah, man.
My defunding is not for you to lose jobs or nothing. My defunding is for you to push that money into the organizations.
Well, the thing about
That's all.
it
That's
is-
all I'm asking because my thing is you don't need to be in the park anyway with the kids because you need to be out somewhere solving some unsolved murders.
Thank you.
Well, the thing is that
Charge.
poverty makes money.
Amen.
Wow. Say that again.
Amen.
Poverty makes money.
Wow.
Poverty is the product of capitalism.
It's always
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
I always talk about capitalism when I
Yeah,
come in
yeah,
here.
But it's the root. I
It's
mean,
the root of the problem.
It's the root.
The fact of the matter is that violent crime and crime in general goes down when people have resources to empower themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why does crime exist? Because someone does not have enough and they have to take it by any means necessary. That is the root of crime. The problem is that the city makes so much money off of citations, off of jail stays, off of
Drug
court costs, drug busts. Yeah, all these human traffic, like they create a real capital system, a system of capital based upon all of these things. So as long as they can keep them impoverished, as long as they cannot give them the resources that they need to better themselves, there will always be a funnel of money being provided for these city governments. That's the issue. They do not want to defund these police departments because they do not want to give the resources where they will actually make a change.
Well, it's interconnected systems. So while it might be the Rockford Police Department or Winnebago County Sheriff that is taking and detaining individuals and then the fines are assessed, those fines are distributed at the county, state level, depending upon what the type of crime is. We also know that there is the detainment or the confiscation of certain properties.
Yes.
You know, people may lose cars, homes, you know, other things that the officers may say this was part of a particular crime. So those things become part of the possession of basically the state. And so we really do need to look at how government has completely latched onto the system of capitalism. And yes, things are funded through your tax dollars and through those fines that individuals pay. This is why I'm not a fan and have never been of cash bond.
Yeah.
It is saying that if I'm in an economic place to not be able to pay for the bond that has been set, then I must sit and be detained in the county jail.
Yeah, and it's happening all the time.
For the rest, yes. And so this is why I put the call out, like, you know, please just, whatever $5 you got, give it, let's have a collective pot so we can go and get people, because it doesn't make sense to have bonds levied against individuals, when in fact the Constitution says there shouldn't be excessive fines and fees.
Brandon, I think that you said when we were at the roundtable discussion, and I agree with this, even though I am not asking the police department to do shit for me. But I think that members of the community are continuously asking the police to do things that they shouldn't be doing. And I think that the Rockford Police Department is exploiting this community, as you were just
That's
saying.
fair.
And the people in Rockford would be better off if they accepted the fact that the current mayor administration, including Tom McNamara and the Rockford Police Department and the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department, don't give a shit about them. They'd be a lot better off to accept that and then continue to organize in a manner that makes them independent from them as a whole. I don't really want to talk about how voting could change it.
I think, you know, and as a football coach, I understand how sports is a vessel for some kids. And this season, I'm seeing how sports has no relevance. Especially right now with the education climate, what it is, and how it is, and being inside of the education system, how it is now. There's been too many D1 prime athletes in this city that go into poverty after practice, go into an uneducated household after practice, and then they ride up downtown or in jail for life. We have to, I agree with you 100%, Tommie Lee, and I am finding out firsthand when it comes to why they don't want individuals, these children, to truly succeed with the right mind. I just told a good kid, they'll fund our bodies, but they won't fund our minds.
Absolutely.
And that's something that is really, everybody we're talking about, I'm now learning firsthand. That round table discussion that Thursday night was beautiful because the community held certain people to the fire. And after that, I had the same conversations with them. And I'm telling you, man, sports in this town is a vessel of to poverty because that's the only thing they want to fund. So, and that's something where as a football coach, it's sad when you want to put millions and millions of dollars into sports, but pennies into education.
And the arts, or anything,
Science, and because our children, what's happening is our children can't read and write.
Yeah.
You know, so when our children can't read and write, what's good is a football? What good is a basketball? And like you're talking to a football coach who's put kids into college in this town, but now our children can't even go out and get jobs because they're so uneducated.
I mean, that's like a result of folksy small town America. Like, that's where a lot of the prime athletes are bred. And so they typically like to invest in them because they feel like there's going to be some great reward in the end. And that's based upon the fact that the United States looks at people as human capital. We are literal workhorses.
By Social Security.
We are,
That's all they are.
we exist to perform, and that's it. We do not exist to
gladiator system.
Yeah, it's a complete gladiator system. We are human capital here, and capitalism is the problem.
Well, the school board is headed back. It's going to be a Browns versus District 205 Rockford School Board.
Oh,
It's coming, and a lot of organizations that some of y'all been talking to know about it. A lot of female organizations know about it, and they're trying everything they can to stop it from coming. But it's coming. You look at it. You look at the segregation and stuff it's been going on. So it's coming back around, and
They went back to zones.
yeah, and it's like it's coming. Like it's in the process right now. Like they know it, and they're trying to make changes to avoid it. But it's like one of the brothers said. When you get somebody to run your school board who was named in a discrimination lawsuit with another school board to run yours,
Doesn't make any sense.
that didn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? That was it right there. I think that just pushed it all
I
forward.
mean, that's the same thing they did with the police department.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
So I know this
Whoa,
is.
don't just jump over that. What?
Someone was run out of one city, they come here to lead another police department the same way they did that other city in a way that was not beneficial to the community. If you talk to the community of Elgin, the community of Elgin does not enjoy Dan O'Shea.
Wow. So they're looking for a different, taking a dog that pisses in one house and take it to a new house
Hoping it don't piss.
and hoping it don't piss.
No, they know it's gonna piss.
But you got
But they like the result of the piss.
and then with the education, they take honors out and put them in certain schools. You know, you got certain millionaires like who get. I don't think outside millionaires should be able to fund certain schools,
Public schools especially.
public schools. See, that's another thing
Or
right there.
purchase militarized vehicles for the police department.
Yeah, that too. So it's a lot of things that, and I think a lot of these things is not going to get changed until we get certain people sitting on that city council.
But
We
so
got to get.
here's-
I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be for sure, but I know if I get on that seat at that city council as an alderman,
You're gonna fight for
I
that.
know who's sitting there, and the people know me who's sitting there. But we don't have that with everyone that's sitting there. It's a lot of people sitting on that city council, got certain things, people hanging over their head.
Of course.
Of course.
Some
It's
of them getting
political.
bullied.
That's politics.
You got a black male, and I'll say it because I don't give a damn. You got a black male city council that he must not have no mirrors in his house to show him what color he is when he wake up every day. That's just real talk.
Say his name.
So I'm kind of tired of our people. I'm tired of our people getting in certain positions, and then it's like that power. When you get a certain type of power, it seems like that power it takes over you. But the only reason that power takes over you because your heart not right, and if your heart ain't right, your life ain't gonna be right.
I see a 50-50 too. Like, I think that if there are some people I would definitely vote for if they were running. I also think that I shouldn't underestimate what these people have pledged to do once they were elected and what the process of overthrowing a corrupt government is. Because it's not the same as like this person upset me or they made me they lied to me in some regards. You know, these elected officials are allowed to do whatever they want once they assume their seat. So it's not so much a matter of voting these people out because they're aware of the misconduct, they're aware of the violence that they're causing, and they're just choosing to shrug it off because they've never had to be held accountable for it.
And that's the piece. So I'm going to say some really unpopular things. You do need to vote. You have to vote. The entire time and up until now, it continues to be before the state legislature. The city of Chicago, largest school district in the state, is begging for an elected school board, yet we don't vote in our school board elections here. We've had all kinds of upheaval the last election with no one petitioning to take over for Lisa Jackson.
Yep.
Then everybody and their brother running as a write-in, and then everybody's mad because it didn't come out the way it should be.
They
You know,
cheated-
because
they cheated
people
Brandon
don't
Brown.
vote at that level.
There's so much oppression
And
with
then
voting.
there's,
I
there,
mean, and
there
it's
is so,
like,
yes, it is a very corrupt system, and I know all too well because I ran statewide. Like I know all too well what the corruption is.
yeah, overthrowing
I'm
a corrupt government though is like not voting them out. It's protesting, and then like more people. If more people, like in the beginning of the protests in Rockford, would have stayed with that movement, and if that movement would have continued to grow, I don't know if they would still be sitting in office right now. And that's for the betterment of the people
Well,
who
some
are.
people might
Like
have
you saying that they, like,
resigned,
stepped out
but
of
once
office?
people
They would have been
are
removed
there,
from office, is
but
what
once
I'm
people
thinking.
are
Because
By the
there-
mass
some
majority. I'm
people-
talking about the mayor. I'm talking about the
But
state's
removed
attorney's
how?
office.
Yeah, I'm asking
I'm
how-
talking about
How,
all of
how
them.
would they be removed? Are you
Removed
saying
how?
I would see them
physically
removed.
removed? Because voting is removing people from
Yes.
seats. So I'm
And
asking.
it hasn't been working.
But
Yes,
the-
I'm aware.
I think voting.
I think
I
it-
think voting works, but people's motive for voting has to change.
So, but no, we
I
have to
just
move past
disagree.
the continuum too. It's not just I go cast my ballot on election day and then never think anything else about it.
Karaoke.
You have to be able to pay attention. I mean, and this is what the rat race of capitalism does to you. You don't have time to pay attention to what the hell they're doing anyway. So then you can't say to that person, you shouldn't have made that vote at the city council level. You should not have adopted this policy at our school board. You, state legislators, should not have supported X, Y, and Z. People are too busy in the rat race just trying to survive that they can't even pay attention to that to move beyond voting to accountability and saying, guess what? You took that vote. Next cycle, I'm putting up a person against you, or I'm running against you myself because this is not how I want to see this function. But we are not caught, and we're not able to even do that because we're still on step one, which is survival. And we're lucky if we're doing that.
I'll come up.
I think that I think it's important to understand, like, I think that one of the things has been an issue specifically in the black community, in the extent that I've been in the black community for 28 years, is that the older generations before, and then sometimes people with certain train of thoughts don't take the time or haven't been in a place to sort of dissect the opposing train of thought, or maybe like another generation's train of thought. And going deep into some of the things that I've went into deeply here these past like 4 months, I think that it's validity to this idea and it's validity to this concept that it's a generation of people who don't want to hear about voting. I think that you have to, when I was like teenager, middle school, Diddy did this whole campaign for vote or die, vote or die. George Bush got elected to be the president. And another thing too, people talk about local elections, but when these people do these big campaigns and say vote, it's not vote locally. Nobody has a shirt on that says vote locally. The emphasis is put onto this presidential election. And they did this vote or die campaign. George Bush was the president for 8 years. It didn't, well, I don't think that went how they expected that to go. The next 8 years came. It was this big campaign for Barack Obama to vote. Barack Obama became the president, and underneath Barack Obama, a Black Lives Matter, movement started, and Trayvon Martin happened, and all of it, and Michael Brown happened, and Ferguson happened, and it's a whole generation of black people who, underneath a black president, who they seen their parents go and vote for and cry for when they got elected, they have seen oppression and exploitation that is just how their great-grandparents seen it, and it was underneath this guise of voting. And then the next 4 years came, and the idea again got pushed to them of voting, and the options that they had became either the CEO from Apprentice or the wife of the guy who passed the crime bill in '94. So again, that's 20 years to 20, and the CEO of the Apprentice got hired, got the job. And then that's 20 to 25 years, at least in my lifetime. And if you go back further than that, I remember growing up and black people would say Bill Clinton was the first black president and brag about how much they love Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton signed the 1994 crime bill that people my age don't got parents, now because of. And he was voted in and he was pushed in, to be in office. And so black people at a certain age, like the 30 to 20, 30 to 15 or so, you look at this idea of voting that's been pushed to you, and you see the people who have been put in office from voting, and it enforces this concept that you're literally voting is that concept of picking the lesser of two evils, and
we don't want evil.
And exactly when you get to the point of a certain generation who have decided that and again with the I think generational trauma is something that people should also think about when they speak about this. It's generations of black people who have, been traumatized by the word voting, been lynched because of voting, been murdered because of voting. They had to move homes and move cities because of voting. And if we speak about, generational trauma where they say the reason that you scared of snakes is because 10, 15 generations ago somebody was seen a snake and then it imprinted on you to be scared of snakes. What black people, got when it come to voting, So I think that some of these structures that different generations of people with a different mindset believe in or are pushing. It's a generation that's coming up now that they don't want to hear about that because that's all they've been told about as kids or as youth growing up, and it's led them to be in this position. Whether it's voting on a national stage or a local stage, and I am going to go vote, but I understand the mindset and I understand the train of thought of people who feel like you want me to pick the lesser of two evils when I don't want to pick between evil at all. I'd rather find a way to make picking the lesser two evils no longer be an option. So I just understand that mindset.
And I wholeheartedly understand that perspective. I've never said that I didn't, so I hope that didn't come across as if I did not get it. I was coming of age when all of that was happening too. These were my early national elections that I participated in. The Clinton, Bill Clinton. Election in '96, the notion of what happened with Al Gore, again, one of the 5 times that the Electoral College went against the popular vote. I have questioned why. I call myself an accidental politician. I'm not even anymore, but those 4.5 years that I was in office, that was not something I ever had the mindset of doing. I didn't say I'm going to grow up and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It happened because it happened. And I'm going to tell the truth, I worked my ass off, but when you don't have that second piece, so vote or don't vote, but if you are going to vote, then you can't just say after I cast my ballot, that's it.
That's true.
Because that person, whoever you did decide to vote for, needs you to hold them both accountable and to be able to support them when they're trying to get something big done that's going to impact people.
That's the word I was waiting on, accountability.
Yeah,
sometimes
you need both.
The thing is, It's accountability, and we have to educate people on not just the process of getting to the poll voting, because that's all we push. We
That's
don't
it.
we don't show we
Yeah.
don't show people, we don't show our 18, 19, 20-year-olds how to vote and continue and
Right.
follow up and hold people accountable.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't say
See,
go to
that's the
city
thing.
hall on Monday night.
That's
we don't
what we
say go to
lacking
the
at.
school
And,
board on Tuesday.
and in like
We
in the
don't say
60s
that.
and stuff, they were showing people. They was telling people, like, they was showing people when somebody get in the office, this what you do. You don't just sit there and vote on somebody and expect them to do the right damn thing for you.
I've happened
And that's
to
what we do
have-
as a
or to
people
be
though. We
mind
do that.
readers.
I've
or
lived
to
in a
be
place
of it.
where people do participate at that level. I've lived in Birmingham, Alabama before.
Yes.
And the city of Birmingham is a 77% black city. It's a chocolate city. Birmingham has had a black mayor for the last 30 years. And there are majority black people sitting on the city council, and black people show up to the city council. It's like a whole thing. Like, I mean, they broadcast the city council meetings
Yeah,
on
they do.
Facebook. We all watch them. Like, it's a whole to-do. And even when people are putting that kind of pressure on their local government and their local politicians, the issue that I find is that people just do not fundamentally agree in the community. And so there's always a push and a pull based on a politic that we just don't agree upon. Like, that's like, so yes, like, be active and be progressive in your holding your politicians accountable, because until we successfully do revolt, we are always going to have to participate in whatever we have, because it does still affect us. In my opinion, that's just my personal perspective. But like the problem is that as long as the politic is only serving a portion of the community, in Birmingham, the politic services the wealthy black community, the upper class black community.
Yeah, it do.
So can we talk about the fact that racism, classism here is why people are not engaged any damn way?
I think
Right.
I
like
mean, people have, the education system has failed generations of people in this area.
I'm gonna let Brandon go ahead and respond, and then we're gonna get to some of these questions and comments.
I think
Okay.
it's twofold because I'm honest with it. Last election, I felt like Skye. I didn't vote because it was literally Trump or Hillary Clinton,
Right.
and it was like I can't support Trump is who he is, but Hillary, I know your history. I know what you've done. I know what you're really about. 4 years later, I'm in the same exact boat with Biden. Like,
Right.
I got 47 years of nothingness and knowing exactly who and what you are. And it's difficult, but then here's, let's take it back. But here's why the basketball and the football, that's why they get thrown. Is because our children are not raised up with a focus of infiltrating the system. And we don't train our children up for political roles, to take those seats. So we can get and still and show the voters, people like Skye and the generation of Leisle, to say, I know this person, I know this individual, I was raised with this person, I know how this person is. When we go and we look at people that we go on a ballot box to check yes or no for, we don't even know who these people are.
We know who Litesa is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right.
And Litesa still dealt with all the hell that Litesa dealt with because the system is the problem.
But first, y'all didn't know me. Let's just be honest. I'm not born and raised here, and Rockford is very tribalistic.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
true.
big issue, and it was alienating, and that's where that engagement and the support did not come into play because she ain't from here no way.
Yeah.
So who does she think she is? And there was I broke a mold to a certain
You
extent.
did.
There had
You
never
did.
been a black female at a state level position in this area ever. The last person who held my seat was almost twice my age. So there was this idea that she can't do it anyway. I remember actually
You hearing that? Yeah.
ministers not wanting me in the spot because I was female.
Yeah.
Okay, so we said we need to talk about racism.
Hold on,
classism.
did you say ministers?
Yes, we need to talk about sexism
Oh,
when
get
we're
on that.
here, and we need to talk about all the isms, the homophobia, the transphobia.
but you
This
know
place
what, though?
is just
This is-
ridiculously 50 years behind. on
And this is
every area.
Rockford. You know that the crazy part about it is, as tribal as it is, we don't allow people that's born and bred here into those top positions. Rockford has a system where it's always bringing in outsiders at those high level positions. They don't want people unless you're McNamara or Morrissey, where your daddy done been in a position and then
It's
you get it.
nepotism. Rockford operates off of nepotism.
So because it's crazy where I faced it so many times as a man that's been born and raised here, where the city and the people like, yo, Gordon needs that spot. That's for Gordon. But then you bring somebody else from out of town that the people don't know, and there's no connection.
Because they know that, as one of the magistrates or one of the judges stated in the People Who Care lawsuit, that Rockford's racism is an art form, and as Dr. Sheffield said, it has been elevated to the form of a science. So they know that people who are black and brown, born and raised here, they have not provided them adequate education. They are counting on you to have not actually pushed yourself to go beyond what they gave to you and be proficient and qualified and able to do things. They're counting on that, and they have that assumption. And you are absolutely right. The reason I moved here is I got a job here at a grad school. And once I moved here, and after being here for many years, I realized if my resume had not had a zip code that was from outside of the city, I probably would not have gotten that particular role. And then 9 years later, I became the legislator, and that became, again, that whole she's not from here thing. And fine, I dealt with it, but I would like to see more Litesas. I want to see more people who look like us in state level positions, federal level. We have never had a federal legislator from this area that was black and brown. It's just about time to get to that place. And maybe, that idea that all skin folk is not your kinfolk, and maybe people have competing ideas and ideologies, because we do internalize classist thoughts and capitalistic thoughts as well. But we have to get to a place where there's a critical mass of us, and we can support someone who looks like us to be in certain roles, and then hold them accountable and push them to be able to do the things that we would like to see them do.
I think the voting system and that system has continued to fail me, and I know for a fact that when Eddie Patterson was murdered by a police officer, that the mayor who I voted for in the previous past, because he wasn't honest that he was a racist. He stood by the police's side, and every elected official or anyone who had any power doesn't want to sacrifice any of their privilege to tell him that he was wrong for that. So, yeah, that is fucked up.
You just hit a nail on the head that people don't talk about. Sacrificing privilege. When we're calling people racist, it's some are not necessarily racist to the definition of the word. But again,
Who is that?
are they just saying people in general? Just saying white people.
If I call somebody racist, I feel like they racist.
Right.
To the word.
I know what it means.
Racism looked different in 2020 than it looked in 1920.
No, wait. What I'm saying,
Covert, yes.
what I'm saying is the nail for me is the people asking to give up their privilege. That's something that I have literally found out. And when I say racist, I'm saying because I ran into the black wall of defense in the city. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult for me to say you're racist when you're black.
Really?
So
that's why we gotta be careful with these words.
That's what I'm saying.
You can be a white supremacist and a white nationalist and be black.
And be black.
Yeah,
I'm related to
These are
some.
mindsets.
Yeah, so that's why
These are
you
ideologies.
If you build the idea of white
and be black.
supremacy No
Right.
matter what you are.
Right.
Like, I could be a black person if I believe that the things that service white people and keep white people supreme in power,
Tom,
in my black ass skin, I am a white supremacist.
And that's the thing too. Is
There
like,
are black evangelicals.
yeah,
Yeah.
racism
There
like
are-
100, 200 years ago would be intertwined with like white nationalism, white supremacy, and like being part of a white power structure. They all be intertwined as one person. That's what the racists would present themselves as. And now, you know, racists present them, they might just be part of a white power structure, but also they subconsciously racist because they working in this and this is how they operate, you know.
Yeah.
Same thing, you can be a white nationalist and maybe you're not part of a white power structure and maybe you're not a white supremacist in a way where, you know, you out here parading, you know, with certain, but you got a belief that
Yes.
white people should be in certain places. You engage in nepotism and you white, so that means you're going to only be giving opportunities to white people. You only have sympathy for white people. And so that racism is presented in that form. You know, and it's, you might not think, you know, you might see George Floyd get killed and you might think, oh, that was wrong, you know, but you hear about what happened with, yeah, and then you feel different because you know, but it's because you got this white nationalist mindset, but you maybe not have a white supremacist mindset. So it's these different mindsets in 2020 that feed into racism. And what has happened, because racism is such a strong culture in America, is that black people have bought into racism.
Yes.
You know, so they're not racist, but
Generational
they
thing
bought
talk
into
about.
racism,
But
and so
there
they
are
have
white supremacists.
yes, they have white supremacist
They have white
mindsets, white nationalist
yeah.
mindsets, and they might be
And
part
they
of a
support-
white power.
yeah.
It's black cops that have been out there who I'm sure that they are not racist because they're black cops, but they are part of a
They're
culture of
part-
racism because they're part of a white power structure. Now, they might not be white nationalists or white supremacists. They might think that they black superior officer is, you know, qualified for the job, and they might think, you know, the things that happen to black people is wrong, but when they go and put on that uniform, they pull black people over 3 times as often as they pull over white people. If they partner doing something that to black people that's exploiting them, they not finna risk their job to do nothing. So they part of this white power structure, and so they have bought into this racist culture. And you know, it's black people who have heavily done those things.
So that
you know?
goes back to exactly what you said. What I was saying, what Skye said. That privilege is going back and saying everything you said is once that take away the uniform off. How many people in this city? Because every white person, the next person in this city at the top, the next person under them is black. Almost for every governmental system in this.
If the system is still racist,
right. So
it doesn't matter.
So what I'm saying,
Yes,
so what
it's so they can
no,
have
hear
the
me out.
shield of saying
Right.
the black person said this, so I can't be racist.
the black wall of defense. That's what I'm saying. The black wall of defense. So what I'm saying is, and what I've noticed is, I'm looking at these individuals. What'd you say? Kinfolk. You know, what all skinfolk, ancient kinfolk. It's difficult when you're looking at an individual and you're saying you have to see what's going on. But then, okay, if I do, am I finna lose this $250,000 a year job?
That's the you
And
got
somebody
that
else
$250,000 a year job is what happened you into racism.
You
know,
I wanna chime in.
for $30,000.
No.
I wanna chime in.
No.
I want to chime in real quick.
Chime in to, you know, sell you out for a bed in the house.
We're always
Yes,
talking
13
about,
pieces
we're always
of
giving
silver,
homage
right?
to our ancestors
Right,
and
right.
what they did, and that when is this generation going to sacrifice like the past generations, bringing up $250,000?
I'm a part of this generation, and I am sacrificing my
Right.
entire
Career.
livelihood,
Yeah.
my family, my
Yeah.
career,
Your career.
my well-being.
Yeah.
Every time I stand up to one of these white power structures,
Thank you.
every single time, we are sacrificing.
There you go.
Because
We absolutely are.
They've done things over history to make sure that each 10 years or each 20 years that
gotta
things like this
sacrifice.
happen. But also it's a percentage of people that they have opted in. It was the time they went out their way after the 60s and the 70s to get more black police officers. So you might lose about 3% of the people who would have been on the front lines because they done paid them to be on the front lines
But
for the police.
even
you know?
in the 60s, there were black people who disagreed with the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
In slavery, there were
I'll say
black
it.
people who
Who
would
said
have
we
listened.
got
We
good
got
white
to.
folks.
We cannot run away.
NAACP.
We got to listen to Massa. I'm not running because
Right.
you know that
That's
has
true. That's
always
true.
existed.
She right, preachers.
That's true.
Yeah.
NAACP, a lot of them didn't agree
Always
with
existed.
the
So
things
I
Martin
guess
Luther King was
do you
doing.
want to get a question or we just
No, go ahead, man.
So,
I
I'm
got it.
No, I just make sure because
We free-rolling the
okay, no, because
Your computer's
no,
flashing
because
around.
but you're that's an honest to God good questions. When are these individuals? And I shared this with Leslie. I've learned a lot from this young man, and I don't mind saying that. And it was public. The one thing that pissed me off about that roundtable discussion, and I shared this with Leslie is, I wasn't even supposed to be on that table. I wasn't even supposed to be up there. I was told to come there as far as the rollout community education program I'm coming out with for the city to know. That's why I was asked to come there that day. The moment my black behind hit that chair, Dan O'Shea and Tom McNamara, y'all was there.
Then they felt
It was
legitimized.
it was by how they promised again to fund me a football team. Haven't got a penny, haven't got a dime.
I was trying to buy you.
Here's where it became very noticeable. You put it out there that you were going to, or the plan was going to, for the community, but you ain't deposited a penny into my bank account.
I got 2 words for that. Then you can go back to
Go
it.
ahead, go ahead.
Hoodwink and bamboozle.
No, but that's
what they did.
Right. So and so what I'm saying is this, and I'm glad when you said that.
Let me tell you why, though. The reason why is because at the time they made those promises, there was a lot of fire that they were using you to put out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I say this to what everyone said? Everybody thought, I just want to say this about when I interviewed them on that. They had nothing to do with that. That was 100% me.
They benefited from it.
They benefited from it. They did. If what I've learned is everything just, I'll watch. I'll listen to him, to everybody, and just listen.
Oh, thank you.
No, but because here's what we got to stop doing as black people. As just because I disagree with you, don't mean I can't learn from you.
But what about if your actions counteract with the majority of the black people's actions? Then at what point should we hold you accountable?
You hold me accountable because here's the thing about it. My life experiences are different from yours. How you was raised necessarily hasn't how I was raised. So it comes to a point in time is that you have to be an open individual, as I am, to say, let me now look and see where I was wrong. Let me look and see where I made my flaws at and made my mistakes at, just by opening ears and then listening and then watching and then readjusting your mindset. But unfortunately,
So are you saying, okay, because we like to talk plain here on Great Conversation Podcast. Are you saying that you have had an awakening? Because what I'm hearing you being accused of is that you were putting out fires that were beneficial to the city over the people in the city. That's what I'm hearing in these conversations.
Oh, from what she just said it. I mean,
What I just said?
I mean, that's what she just said. Right. Go ahead. Right, that's from what she just said, then that would be a correct statement. If she just said it was the look of it, and here's the one thing about it. You said.
So wait a minute. So your awakening came once they lied to you?
No. Not once they. You have to go. For me, is, and he said a certain demographic of people. Once you're around, and I've said this since it happened, our religious system creates a sheepish mentality in our people.
Come on and tell somebody.
Yeah.
And now you talking to a man who was sat at every table with every black preacher in this city. When I sit back and I tell you that our black religious leaders are not, and I just told this to one, if you literally read the Bible in its purest form, Jesus the Christ was a revolutionary.
Period. Poo.
You can read that. You can read that.
Point.
He was
children's
flipping
book.
over tables, breaking away, watching people get
so-
brutalized, and then
And
beating
you
them
see
off.
what he was mad at? Capitalism.
All of it. So
the
when you
exploitation of his
but
people.
but see, it's the thing about it. What my mind literally got to a point is that you guys are not teaching Jesus in a natural form.
That's why I said you gotta
They're
be-
teaching Jesus
can't-
that feeds
you
into
have
the
to be-
white power structure.
So they're white supremacists.
Yes, it's a tactic of white
It just came all the way
supremacy.
back around.
Christianity is white supremacy.
It is
It's
the
a tool.
courier and the message for white supremacy.
So you have once you realize this stuff, and I said this to when District 1, the Rockford Ministers Fellowship was at District 1. And they came out, and this is when they said Chief O'Shea made a mistake. I said, the man never apologized. He doubled down. Why are we now apologizing for a man who
hasn't apologized himself?
Who never apologized himself?
Because
to examine what it is to be Christian versus Christ-like. And I'm really not interested in Christianity.
So let me go answer your question. So here's my thing, and I never wanted to get, it did get misinterpreted from a lot of different perspectives, because people on this side, like I said it that Thursday night, they hate it when I'm talking to the mayor, I'm talking to the police chief.
Yes.
The same way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely the same way. Right now, they sick right now. And it's not, and you, Gordon, pick a side. This man have told me 100 times, pick a side.
Cannot be lukewarm.
You cannot, so for me, it was, in order for me to choose and pick a side,
You have to hear them out.
I had to hear.
And see their actions.
I
and see
had
where
to
their
see.
actions
So
line
for-
up.
so
And what the fruit.
Of it is. So no, but it's
We
a,
can go there with
You can
all
break
the
that.
Christian.
but it's an honest. This is a conversation, right?
Shall know them
So
by their fruit.
it's an honest dialogue. So for me, as a young black man who literally has to raise myself in it, with no necessarily coming out of a piss poor education system in 205, and then you come and then you quote unquote find yourself and find Jesus in a religious system, and then you actually study and read and be like, hold on, this ain't nothing. I'm not seeing anything tangible. Why to right now? And I said this to him. The Rockford Ministers Fellowship. Here's a thing that kills me about it. I'm gonna say it right now. McNamara, the Rockford Ministers Fellowship, and a lot of these entities in this city have personally told me that this man is right.
Yeah, they've said
Right. So
But they will not put their resources behind
behind the message.
because it is detrimental to the white power structure that they exist to service, which is racism.
So for me, and I just had this, and I don't mind saying, I just had this conversation, and this is to Skye's point and to Leslie's point. What they're seeing with this new generation is, you can no longer tell me I'm right, and then do the opposite
You cannot
and just
piss
let
on
me and
me
just
and
let
tell
me
me it's
follow.
raining.
You
We do
can't.
not tolerate that.
And those days are now over. And this new generation is not handling the bull. They're not taking it. They're not accepting it. They're just not following it because you're older than me. They're not just following it because you're in a power position. They're not just saying, okay, I'm gonna do whatever you say.
And thank God.
Yes.
And thank God. You know what I'm saying? Because literally, you gotta see when it comes to times like this where nothing is going to change unless young people that's literally going to say like, hey, this ain't right. We know it ain't right. You know it ain't right. But yet you'd rather keep your privilege than fight for what's right. And that's the biggest battle, in my opinion, to where
we are.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
Individuals say, I know this is wrong.
But I will not sacrifice myself.
I will not
for
sacrifice
you.
my privilege
Because
for
we
you.
live in an individualistic
Yep.
society.
Yep.
We do not truly believe. We talk about community all day, but we do
Nope.
not exist in community.
Nope, we don't.
We do not commune
don't.
with each other, and we will
Nope.
not assume a liability for one another. And that's the bottom line. They have no desire to assume a personal liability for the betterment of the whole.
No. And that's where we're at. So until, like,
Because they can't fathom that. You know, it got back to me that they were gonna, certain group of people are gonna do some looking and some investigating and figure out who put me up to going to the jail. It's like,
Who put her up to that? Getting
well,
them folks
because
out
you
of
can't
jail.
Fathom, and it wasn't me, right? It was just,
Somebody had to
it
tell
was
me.
a call to the community.
What's crazy
It was
is
a call to the community, and I just happened to be the person who made it down there fast, but it wasn't me. But this notion, this idea that people cannot even think for themselves, because Rockford is a special kind of racist. I grew up on the south side and in the south suburbs of Chicago. So this has been every day.
it's new.
When I tell you every day, I'm like, what on earth? And my son is 16. Every day I'm in his head, in his face. We will not settle for mediocrity. I don't care that your teacher said you don't have to do it that way. This is how the hell you're going to do it. I have more education than most of your teachers any damn way. Some of them was in my classes at NIU when I taught ed psych. So when I say this is how it's going to go, this is how it's going to go. And it's just, but this idea that you can't challenge anything, you cannot think outside the box, somebody has got to have told you how to do something. It's mind-blowing to me.
What do you
It's
guys
a residual
Hold on,
effect. It's a residual effect of, it's a residual effect of the power structure that has existed in our entire country.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It is, I am here, you are here, you will do what I say. And the fact of the matter is that every generation has come closer and closer to where we are now, which is where we do not recognize authority. You have no authority over me.
You are a man. You put your pants in
One leg at a time, just like I do. You are. There is not a single person on this planet that has any authority over my body and my mind. You cannot make me do anything.
Yeah.
You do not exist to govern me. I govern myself. Anything that I participate in is a courtesy to you.
Come on.
That's good. That's good.
It is a consideration and a courtesy. It is a gift. You're welcome. You're welcome for my compliance.
And my presence.
And my presence. And my mind.
Go
Real quick, I just want
Go ahead.
to. Woo! Guys, this is the Great Conversation podcast, Reform or Revolt. As promised, we are going to get a question or two. I don't want to interrupt the flow too much of the conversation that's going. Question from the comments here. Some don't feel it would be productive to meet with the police, but I think that usually means police leadership. Do you think there is a value in meeting with rank and filed police with rank and filed citizens with the ability of no bullshit conversations?
Can let me
We
catch
should
like
just
that.
go around
I
I just
Take
think,
turns.
honestly, I feel like if you had sat down or met with the police, then you don't need to answer that.
No.
I think people that
That's
people
why.
that
That's
haven't
why
sat
you
down.
should. No, that's why you should.
Like,
Because the reason why you should is because
You shouldn't
Wait,
wait me with
what?
that.
no.
The reason why
the
you
person
should
should
what?
answer the question.
Oh,
Someone
okay.
who's has.
Okay.
Someone that has,
That has. Let me tell you that has. He's asking that should you sit down and meet with him?
That's
Is that
what
the question?
That's the
Yeah.
big
Right,
question.
that's the question. You're just saying you feel like it's someone who does it shouldn't answer the question. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Or at least that you let them
Right.
go first.
Right. As someone who has, let me tell you why I feel like you have to find out the level of bullshit.
We know the level of
No, because
If the house is on fire, I ain't got to go in the house to know the house on fire.
No. So what I'm saying is, listen to me.
Yeah, please.
As an individual, again, your experiences in life aren't everybody's experiences.
Right. If you don't
in life.
know the level of bullshit, and you want to find out.
So okay. So wait.
You in the
No.
community, you know
No,
the level of bullshit.
but hold on. You gotta look at, but you have to, because I'm in but bro, it's just not the community aspect of it. You gotta look at my involvement through the school systems.
Yeah, that's the
But
community as well.
but
Yeah.
hold on. The churches.
That's the community.
But okay, but listen, the city, which at this time your involvement with the police is daily. Every single day when I wake up, I have an involvement with the police every single
The
day.
police should be removed. They have
Every, no,
business
okay,
being there.
but,
Police
okay,
shouldn't be at
that's
the
that's
school.
that's
You shouldn't-
at the
and that's
school.
just
the school.
an
So
experience.
you know, said
And
different
all
community events,
experience
different
that.
everywhere. So when your involvement is with these different people and different community organizations, when the police is there and the police is always a present, you're not calling them, you're not inviting them
Why
there.
are they
But
there?
if you fit the description, they still gonna throw you on the ground whether
You-
they know you or not.
Yeah.
Martin
Why
Luther
are
King
they
was
there?
killed.
Huh?
The end.
Why are they there? Why is there such a heavy police presence at everything that you go to in this community if you black?
But they not solving nothing. Why are they
The
here?
photos. That's
I'm
why
just
they.
trying to-
That's why they there.
They're there for the
Depends,
photos, or are they
If you at
there
the school,
for?
they at the school
Or are
to
they
get you
there
ready to go to
because-
jail.
Yes,
That's
or
what they
are
at the
they
school
there
for.
because of the racist belief that
That
we are
these
more
children are
violent,
violent.
and
Okay.
we are savages, and we are brutal, and we are all these things? I'm trying to understand why there needs to be
Yeah,
such police
all of
presence.
those
So
things.
since I'm already speaking, I'm just gonna say, rank and file police officers have very little power. So rank and file citizens, whatever that means, because the most powerful political position is that of private citizen.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Meeting
step.
with rank and file officers doesn't do anything. It's not going to do anything. The action has to be at the city council. It has to be with the city government where police are concerned, because that is where the police contract comes from. There has to be conversation with leadership within the police organization, because the police union is who goes and negotiates that contract
With the city.
that gives cover in many cases, in many ways, for the forms of brutality that occur. And so I don't know what the value of, Joe Schmo meeting with,
I think
beat
to answer your
Officer
question-
Smith is
Right.
going to be.
I agree with that statement.
I'll just say this. That's where reform come in at. Until it gets passed by the House or something, like other cities are already making change in their police department.
That's true.
I'm just telling you this now. Rockford will be the last motherfucking city to try to make a
Big
change.
facts.
Big
They
facts.
That's
think
the bottom
they
line.
already did
We
it.
living in like a friend of mine said, we're living
Yeah.
in a fucking Confederate city, man.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
That's
people
what
have to
you're saying.
accept that. Like, you can sit at them tables and stuff. I ain't talked to him about doing it. And I'm kind of like, he told me the truth. He said, man, you can go and see what's up.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Somebody
know,
to
right?
sit down and have a
No,
No,
conversation. You do
listen,
that.
and I'm keeping it real. He said, you can go, let me know what's up, this, that. But it's like, why? You know what I'm saying? Why? They know what's going on. They've been knowing. Police been knowing what's going on for generations and generations. It's like Litesa said.
They're doing what they
City,
designed
we gotta
to
hit the
do.
city council up. Do y'all notice y'all still talking to the mayor and not talking to the city council as a whole? It might be people sitting there. The mayor is speaking for all the people that you're not hearing from.
Yeah.
He's speaking for the whole city council, and who knows that they all agree with what the hell he's talking about.
That's true.
You know what I'm
They
saying?
need
So-
to say something.
So it's like
But they
Litesa said.
won't.
It's
No,
like
yeah,
Litesa
no, I
said.
agree.
You gotta go to the city council. You gotta go, whether it's disruptive or passionate or whatever. You gotta go. I did that
I
stuff
think
for
so.
years.
I think that what they asking with the question, I want to make sure that in case the person who posed the question is still there.
Yeah, they're here.
Okay, as somebody who specifically, I know that I think me and Skye specifically have pretty outward views on no fucking meetings with the police.
Right.
The reason the meeting with the police feeds into the idea that it's just a few bad apples.
Right.
It's like, well, it's just a few bad apples. So if you go meet with the Johnny Appleseed and you talk to him about how he got a few bad apples, then he'll go and remove the few bad apples from the tree, and then the next time you go back, it ain't gonna be nothing but good apples, and then everything gonna be fixed. But in reality,
That sounds crazy.
but that would be the only reason to sit down and talk with somebody.
If it could actually
Well,
have an
so-
impact.
because
It's
the
not
reason
gonna have
that you
an
sit
impact.
down and have two people who disagree with each other, you sit down and have them talk so that they can find middle ground. You don't find middle ground with the person exploiting you or oppressing you or beating you.
Period.
It's no middle ground to be found. That person has to come all the way to you on their own, and when they come all the way to you on
They're
their
ready.
own, there's no need for no meeting because it'll be done in the actions. It'll be public. It'll happen publicly. So you don't go sit down with Johnny Appleseed and tell him he got a few bad apples because he growing his tree like that on purpose. Because he getting money off of the bad apples. Because he want people to stay away from the tree. He want people to get some of those apples and be poisoned, and he can have full control of the tree. And that's what's happening. It's not this idea that it's just a few police officers in the Rockford Police Department that's doing a few things wrong and making a few bad decisions. And if the right black person can go talk to the police chief and explain what it means to be black and how people used to be slaves, then all the problems gonna be fixed. No, there is a cultural problem with police in the nation, in the world. There's a cultural problem with policing, just like it's a cultural problem with militarism and a cultural problem with poverty and a cultural problem with drugs. That is not something that a person that lives is in the community needs to sit down and talk to with the police chief. The police chief know that better than anybody else. What needs to be changed is the culture and the atmosphere of policing. Not even changed. Policing as we know it needs to end. It has to become something different. And talking to the police chief ain't gonna get you no step closer to that. But again, if certain people, whenever specifically white people or white women or older white men come to me and they talk about, I just want to meet with the police chief and the chief would love to meet with you and talk to you, go ahead, talk to him. You tell me what he said. Then when you come back and you tell me what he said, I'll let you talk to the people that's out here being victimized by him. And you tell me if they saying the same thing. And just about every time that it happened, they come back to me and they not saying the same things. And it's discrepancy with the police chief saying and the police chief giving them the runaround. If they going to get that white woman to run around or that white man to run around, they going to give my black ass the double runaround. So it ain't no point in doing it for whoever asked the question.
And furthermore, to that specific person, like, this is the same police chief who called teenagers a waste of time. This is the very same police chief who literally said that citizens arrest that is violent is legal, and he encouraged people to be white vigilantes against black women. This is the same police department that houses Mike Delkey, who says that black women have way more super strength and have a higher pain tolerance than the average person, which is a eugenics ideology that has victimized black people at every single turn since black people have been in this goddamn country. This is that same department.
That exploitation.
How can we change that mindset?
Yeah.
What can I possibly say to make you see that I am a human being who deserves to be treated with respect? No. If you do not believe I am respectable, if you believe that I am both superhuman and subhuman at the same damn time.
What the hell?
That is not for me to change your mind about. Mm-hmm. I cannot make that change. So why the heck would I go meet with a rank and file officer if the head of the honcho has the same ideology? And that is how he governs his people.
Because when you look at the Floyd tape, sorry, I got one.
Go ahead.
No, because you just preached. And
man.
Take a sip.
But when you look at the Floyd tape, it was I can't even remember the officer's name. At this point, I can't remember anybody's name. But the officer that sat there, that kneeled on him for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, was the ranking officer on the scene. And everyone asked, why didn't the other officers do anything? Because they were not going to break rank.
They did their job. That's what they did.
Because their superior was in the act of committing murder. Mm-hmm. And they did not intervene because it was their superior. So why, I mean, I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. I get.
Also, they was talking about they wanted to meet with the low person.
Yes.
So they didn't even want to meet with Johnny Appleseed. They just want to talk to one of the Apples. They tripping.
They want to meet with the pick.
So the answer to that question is no.
You asked the question. You asked the question as to why is the police presence so high, and the word is validation. Unfortunately, when the police show up to these community events, it gives a certain look of validation for your program or organization.
Does
it? To
not to us.
No.
He's not saying to us.
No.
He's saying it look good for the people who support police.
Right. So okay, bro.
So when I'm taking a photo out.
No. I'm giving, bro. This is.
Or it's safe.
This is the game. No. Mm-hmm. This is the business political game. The police come to my event. The police give me a couple dollars. Their name now goes on my donor list or whatever it looks like. So now then, when I'm going out to another company or organization that's really not in the political, that don't have the political viewpoint or whatever, that now I have the support of the RPD or whatever. So now that validates me. So it's a political, like I said, it's validation. It unfortunately, the look of them at your event validates your program.
No offense, but it's like that picture everybody took at City Hall.
with the mayor now.
What picture?
That picture everybody took at City
Oh,
Hall.
the listen.
Remember
with
with,
the-
with
the
Tony
mask,
Turner
yeah.
and all them, everybody took that picture. That's kind of what you
Oh,
saying.
when
It gives
I
you.
see what you're saying.
It gives, but
See
no,
how everybody was in that
but
picture?
it
Now
get-
people looking at it like that's
like-
validation.
It's not, I mean, that's
like,
just,
oh, I see him in there. I see him.
But
So
that-
things must be really like moving
that's
forward.
what. That's what.
Wow.
That's what.
That's what
It,
you- I
that's
know
what
what
I'm
you're
saying. It's a very false perception that it gives to it gives a false perception to everyone. All right, everything is getting better.
Okay.
Like the
I'm
viewpoints.
trying to personalize it. I'm trying to understand.
Okay.
So I need like when you were on the other side and you saw the police at these events and whatnot. Can you tell me like what was your mindset then?
What was validated?
What do you mean?
What
I think he's
what
saying
was
for other
validated?
people. You wasn't validated.
No. What I'm
When you were because you admitted
No, he
that
said
you
he had
was
a-
on
Oh,
you
you
was
said,
on-
oh, so you see
you was
it.
on the other side.
So-
You know what I'm saying? And until they
I can't
duped
breathe
you.
in this motherfucker.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Man, crack
what
it down. Just crack it down.
like
son.
what
Huh?
did it? Like how were you feeling when they were that like well, I guess they just that's my question for you.
okay, so when
What-
they
what
decided
valid-
they
yeah.
wanted to invest in your program, how did that make you feel? Did you feel validated?
No, I didn't feel validated. It hurt, to be honest.
When it hurts you that they
No,
wanna throw
because
some money at you?
yes, hell yeah.
Did it hurt afterwards or?
Or after they didn't. Or
No,
after they
matter of
done
fact,
nothing.
I still ain't got to die. Let me just put that out
That's
there.
what we're saying.
That's why it hurt.
I got- no, so let me tell you why it hurt. I've been doing what I've been doing for our black youth for the last 13 years of my life
Right.
consistently,
Yeah.
I get, okay.
day in, day out.
But until there was unrest, they didn't want to support you.
No, I don't even care about them. The first time somebody says, Gordon, I believe in what you've been doing, was him. Go start your own. There's no, like you just said, the community aspect of it. It don't exist.
Well,
So-
does
so-
this community have resources? Is the question. No.
Uh,
No.
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
Point me to a
So-
program that is well funded in this city.
Yeah, I like that. Well funded.
Oh, it's
They're the ones who went with the police. That's what I was just
Point me to one.
There's a couple that take a
if you
picture
can
with the
point me to a program that is
police.
well funded in this city, then we can point to it and say who are their donors.
we won't say.
There's a couple that take pictures with the police.
Yeah.
You take a picture
here's-
with the police. They've been taking. Wear them shirts. Wear them masks.
So to me, to answer the question, it was more not programs, but most definitely individuals. Okay, so
Okay.
you know what I'm saying, us that it's black folk in Rockford with a lot of money. So is to me it was like, so you mean to tell me the first person who's come to me and said, here, I need you to now start something, which is an absence in our culture, which is a football program in the city of Rockford. Here you go. That
But
really
wouldn't you rather somebody genuinely not give you shit than disingenuously give you something? Or
no,
give
well,
you-
no.
okay.
What I'm saying is at the beginning when it first hit, it was like honestly, bro. When it comes for me, football is my passion, it's my gift, it's what I do.
When was this offer made?
The moment I hung up the phone, the moment
So I'm saying this was in
June.
like June when you
June.
were talking about various things on social media.
Oh no, WRE. When it was made, I mean, the moment I left WREX studio, I got in my car. He called my phone.
This
This
was
what we gonna do.
this was
after
made.
the May 30th protest.
This was made.
So that's
in
what I'm saying, I'm
response
trying to
the
understand.
youth
Put
being
a
called
timeline.
a waste of time.
Tom.
Yeah, and
So-
I'm
Yes.
seeing here in the
Yeah.
comments where someone is saying that at that time when O'Shea said those comments, you agree with him.
Yes. And I,
What
bro,
comments?
because no, because
17, 18,
18 because and because my stance still has not changed.
Right.
Because that day, the week prior to, my 11-year-old son was an inch from death from a drive-by shooting by a 15-year-old boy.
So you
So-
said, wait,
so-
what?
so-
you
so-
still agree with the chief's statement?
So-
I'm
so-
trying
so-
to understand. No, I'm not attacking.
That's what he
the
said.
Yeah, yes,
I'm
yes.
not-
No, yes,
okay.
because-
He said yes.
I'm
yes,
not going
because-
for it.
Rational.
Okay.
It was a rational.
it's a rational observation.
Mindset after that happened.
So literally, I'm thinking to myself, like, hell yeah, if you 15, 16, 17 years old and you robbing, stealing, and shooting folk,
that you're a lost cause?
Bro, okay.
My son is 16.
So okay,
Your brain
no,
is
no,
not
no, no,
even
no, no,
developed till you're
no, no.
25.
Wait, so
Impulse
no, no.
control.
Okay, so
No,
here's,
let him explain.
no,
We
so
don't let
not
him explain
Leticia. Okay, no, this.
Or try.
As no, it's not trying. As a father, as a parent, if I don't give a damn how old you is, you shoot and kill my child, I don't got nothing for you.
But you just grouped
I-
15
I-
to 16-year-olds.
To me,
Not the ones that try to kill your son, but the
Yeah,
one
you're giving
you
a very
grouped.
specific individual.
that's how okay. So
as a
that's how I
parent,
took.
But you are not the chief of a
You're not
Yeah,
a
you
chief
can,
of
you can say that all you want.
Oh,
He
no,
can't
no,
say that.
no,
Yeah,
right.
that's
So,
all
so,
that
but
is.
so
It's
when
who's
I
saying,
so
not what they
we're
say,
talking
that's
about,
saying.
and he just said it, a very rational. When I heard it, how it hit me. So when I heard it, knowing that it's literally 15, 16, 17-year-old boys on the west side of Rockford that are doing the majority of our shooting and our killing.
Wait, we should hold up talking about. We should not.
Because
That's
of the
not a
lack of
proven fact.
resources.
That is. Wait, before we get to that, that is not a proven fact.
No, okay.
And as a
The,
psychologist, I'm listening to when he said it because I was watching the press conference when it happened.
Uh-huh.
As a psychologist, as a member of the board of the Juvenile Justice
Right.
Initiative for the state of Illinois, I'm sitting here thinking we can never throw away young people. I have been in rooms with people who have killed people. I have been in rooms with people who are accused of such things. I just don't believe in giving up on anybody.
And we do not know that 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and 17-year-olds is
On the
doing
west
the
side,
majority
they're
of
doing
the
the-
shooting.
They're not catching the
killers.
So I just want to make sure that we.
So how they're
So,
Go ahead with everything else,
okay,
man.
no, okay, I can vouch for that. I can say that. Well, and from what you're saying, my whole everything is literally the kids. It's just who I've been.
That's a juxtaposition. That's
So-
an internal battle that you should be really rectifying
yeah.
within
You
yourself.
you always have to
Yeah.
separate because this is the thing. Listen, if somebody come in here and they kill me right now, anybody that's connected to me or me, we gonna want. It's certain things that we gonna want because of that situation. We will never be able to rationally view that situation. That's why it's supposed to somebody from
It's
the outside
called
supposed to do.
bias.
Somebody from the outside is gonna know if somebody just came in and killed you when they were 18. Don't matter if they 18 to 50. If they gonna continue to live another day past that. The best thing that we can do from this situation is to try to make sure they do something productive to society, to try to make whole this, and to try to do what we can to make sure that this person can find a way to keep somebody
Otherwise,
else
they're
from doing the
arresting
same
us.
thing.
So
We are at
And it
risk.
is not, and again, we have to remember that it's not a simple thing. As black people, if can't nobody else understand restorative justice and allowing somebody
me.
to try to make
It's-
something
it's
whole,
bro.
it's black people. Because, and then I hate to be the one to say this, but if you gonna be mad, if somebody was to do something to my son, as broken as I would be, I would want justice for something happening to my son. But I cannot have good faith, and I cannot have integrity if I want to murder the person who killed if I want nothing but wrong for them, but I'm not then going and trying to do them same things for other people who had that situation. And so if you want to throw away the 15-year-old or the 16-year-old or the 17-year-old that did something to your son, if by that mind state, everybody who done ever did anything gets thrown away, because when you the victim, you cannot see it from that standpoint. And the same thing, if by that same standpoint, you shouldn't be doing nothing non-violent. You should be doing nothing to help no kids with no football. You should be having guns in the street and trying to kill police and white people. Because as a black person, you are regularly being victimized as a person of this community by police and by white people. But if you're not resorting to violence for that situation, when it touch you personally, it can't become resorting to violence or that person being all the way thrown away. So I think that they feed on that. That's what he say that for. He feed on saying when he get up there and he say throw away the 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds, because you know it's predominantly black people who gonna be getting thrown away, and black people who doing the throwing away.
So let's hey,
Exactly. Exactly. So it's dangerous. Go ahead.
No.
Let him
So
respond.
again, I've always said is I love myself because my adult maturity is growth.
Right.
The wrongness in that statement was proven to me by my brother. What's up, Moose? My brother, King Musa, was charged with murder at 15 years old. He got out this May. At 15 years old, he literally came, he shot and killed somebody out by Concord, drug deal gone wrong. They held him in prison 2.5 years and charged him as a dark game 25. He got out this past May. Once he got out, he came and literally sat down with me and talked to me about the prison system and how there's nothing about the prison system that's reforming. And so he got out and he said, bro, I feel you, but let me give you somebody who's been in it 10 years. There's nothing reforming about the prison system at all.
No.
And now to see,
it's a cage.
right? So now to see all of the moves that my brother is now doing. Like my brother's in like really, he's doing real major stuff in Chicago. He live in Rockford, but with Chicago when it comes to literally reforming the judicial system. The wrongness in the statement was proven to me by my brother. He was like, bro, I understand the rational, emotional statement because you was literally in the moment in that time. Your point is my own blood brother.
Right.
As to what you're saying. And so the growth in it is like, I feel like in that moment, who said it? Absolutely right.
Well, you just told him that you still
still
agree.
feel that way.
Yeah, that was the only reason everybody jumped.
I know.
That's what we're talking
Because
you going the
no.
wrong way
You still
around it.
agree.
But that's
I
what we're
didn't
talking about.
expect to talk about this kind of stuff either, Brandon. And it's kind of what I was talking about earlier about black people all not being on the same page when it comes to racism. And it is the duty of the oppressor to divide us so that we do not have a strengthening, wall against them, and it just disorganizes us. And I believe that Rockford can have, they can abolish their police. Rockford can do it. I know that there's a group of people who are empowered that would lead us to believe that Rockford will instead be a war zone of some sort, and that we can't just come to a nonviolent solution. But I actually know for a fact, especially because the Rockford 17, everybody who's been arrested after that during the city market protests, the 40-some people, they all have to receive justice and have their charges dropped immediately. So I'm not surprised that the public doesn't understand how to imagine a future without police because Rockford hasn't had those types of leaders. I learned about it from a comrade in private. And that's the only reason why I have any clue that that is the solution to a lot of this.
So to answer your question, it's for me, it's double-edged, and let me explain why. Unfortunately, our culture, when it comes to our 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids, there's a lot of them who don't receive it when it comes to the mentoring, development, and trying to get them steered on the right path and not be.
But that's not our culture. That's
okay.
American.
That's the culture. Right. That's the culture. That's the culture. Right.
That's
You're
human
right.
development, and we criminalize the behavior of adolescents when when that behavior has a black and brown face. But this is human development.
You're right.
Kids run amok. Kids
I don't
have
think
attitudes. Kids roll their eyes. Kids don't want to listen.
I
this
get
is
that.
What they do.
But here's the thing about it. Here's the thing about it. There's twofolds. When I heard it, I did not. I'm being honest. I did not see race, and I've said this to her. I did not see. Woo!